China has reacted sharply to a joint statement by Japanese Prime Minister Suga Yoshihide and U.S. President Joe Biden. Suga returned to Tokyo from Washington on Sunday after his first summit with Biden. The statement says the two countries underscore the importance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. They encourage a peaceful resolution of the issue. It was the first reference to Taiwan in a joint statement by the two countries in more than 5 decades. The statement also says they share serious concerns about human rights in Hong Kong and the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. China regards Taiwan as one of its core interests. A foreign ministry spokesperson responded to the statement on Saturday. The response accuses the U.S. and Japan of grossly interfering in China's domestic affairs and severely violating basic norms of international relations. It says China deplores and rejects the joint statement and has conveyed its stance to Tokyo and Washington through diplomatic channels. The spokesperson said China urges the U.S. and Japan to take its concerns seriously and abide by the One China principle. It demands the two countries immediately stop meddling in China's domestic affairs and harming its interests. The spokesperson concluded by saying China will take all necessary measures to defend its sovereignty, security, and interests. The United States and China have reached an agreement to cooperate on climate change. That was the message in a joint statement issued after a meeting between U.S. Special Envoy for Climate John Kerry and his Chinese counterpart Xie Zhenhua. The pair met on Thursday and Friday in Shanghai. Kerry is the first Biden administration senior official to visit China. The statement says the U.S. and China will continue discussing concrete action to reduce carbon emissions based on the Paris Agreement. Steps include increased use of renewable energy and cooperation to reduce methane and other greenhouse gases. The two sides also agreed to increase support for developing countries. The statement says they both look forward to the climate summit to be hosted by Washington this Thursday and Friday. The U.S. and China are the world's biggest emitters of greenhouse gases. Their agreement comes as tensions are rising over human rights and security issues. South Korea has told the United States about its serious concern over Japan's decision to release treated water from the crippled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant into the ocean. But the U.S. President's Special Envoy for Climate, John Kerry, says Japan's process is very transparent. The plant's wastewater is treated to remove most of the radioactive materials, but it still contains radioactive tritium. Before the water is discharged, it will be diluted so the concentration of tritium is well below World Health Organization standards. South Korea's foreign ministry says Foreign Minister Chon Wi-yon met Kerry on Saturday in Seoul. The ministry says Chon told Kerry that South Koreans have serious concerns about Japan's decision. South Korea also says the minister asked Washington to cooperate so Japan will disclose information more clearly and speedily. Kerry said on Sunday the U.S. is confident that Japan is in very full consultations with the International Atomic Energy Agency.
We don't think it's appropriate for the United States to jump in to a process that's already underway and where there are a very clear, transparent set of rules and expectations.
The IAEA is also showing support for Japan's decision. The Japanese government says it will provide an in-depth explanation to seek the understanding of the international community. Witnesses in Myanmar say Japanese journalist Kitazumi Yuki was taken into custody by security forces from his home in Yangon on Sunday night. The Japanese embassy in the country has lost contact with Kitazumi, and has been trying to confirm his whereabouts. The journalist was briefly detained by police in February while covering pro-democracy protests. Turning to the latest on the coronavirus here in Japan, in the western prefecture of Osaka, officials confirmed a record 1,220 new cases on Sunday. Monday marks 2 weeks since stricter measures were put in place in the prefecture, but the upward trend continues. The daily tally in Osaka has topped 1,000 for 6 days in a row. Officials are trying to secure more hospital beds and nurses as the spike in new cases is straining the healthcare system. In Tokyo, officials reported 543 cases on Sunday. The figure topped 500 for the 6th consecutive day. Vaccinations for the elderly are underway across Japan.
I heard it can be painful later, but I feel okay.
The minister overseeing the vaccination program says the U.S. firm Pfizer has agreed to provide additional vaccine supplies to Japan. Kono Taro says the government will be able to secure enough doses to cover all eligible people by the end of September. A Japanese baseball team is offering fans free coronavirus antibody tests with the help of an IT venture firm. More than 500 people applied for the tests after getting their tickets for Sunday's game at the Saitama Seibu Lions home ground north of Tokyo. They started using a smartphone app to record their state of health a couple of weeks before the game. Antibody test kits were delivered to their homes during this period. People with health issues and those who tested positive also had to take PCR tests before coming to the stadium. Those who couldn't get PCR tests were given antigen tests on Sunday at a facility near the stadium. All 12 of them tested negative.
This measure will enable fans to safely enjoy the games.
We'd like to develop a new model for social activities with preventive measures.
The tests are also being offered to fans for next Sunday's game. Seibu plans to analyze the data to prevent infections at the stadium. The Czech Republic has announced that it will expel 18 Russian diplomats, citing evidence of Russia's involvement in a 2014 ammunition depot explosion. 2 people were killed when several blasts rocked the country's southeast. On Saturday, Czech Prime Minister Andrej Babiš said he had ordered the expulsion of Russian diplomats and called the circumstances scandalous and unprecedented.
Based on clear evidence obtained during the investigation conducted by our security services, I can say there is well-grounded suspicion about the involvement of Russian military intelligence service officers.
Russian media quoted its foreign ministry spokesperson who responded, "Prague is well aware of what follows these types of games." A senior official of Russia's upper house was also quoted as saying Prague's assertions were absurd and Russia's response should be proportionate. The Czech Republic is a NATO and EU member state. The Central European country is apparently trying to apply pressure on Russia and the United States. U.S. President Joe Biden issued an executive order on Thursday to expel 10 Russian diplomats, citing economic and security threats to his country. Japan's health ministry says the number of HIV infections confirmed in the country was down last year by nearly 20% from the year before, but that might not be such good news. Officials say many public health centers stopped testing for HIV because of the coronavirus pandemic. They say the actual number could be higher. Preliminary figures show 740 people were found to be infected across the country in 2020. That's down by over 160 or 18% from the previous year. But the number of people tested was only about 69,000, less than half of what it was the year before. Officials are urging people to get tested if they think they may have been infected.
The US National Security Advisor has said there will be consequences if Putin critic Alexei Navalny dies in prison. Russia says that won't happen, but Mr. Navalny's supporters say he is being killed in front of the whole world. Well, Moscow has issued a strong protest at the Czech decision to expel 18 Russian diplomats from Prague. The Czechs say it's punishment for Russia's involvement in a deadly explosion at an arms depot 7 years ago. China and the US say they are committed to working together with other countries to tackle climate change. It comes after several meetings between the Chinese climate envoy and his US counterpart in Shanghai last week. And Germany is commemorating the victims of coronavirus at national ceremonies. Almost 80,000 people have died there of COVID, and the country is currently battling a third wave.